Welcome to Risho Koseikai International of North America. We are grateful for the opportunity and happy to share with you the Dharma Dojo Lecture Series called Zen and the Art of the Lotus Sutra Practice with Masaki Matsubara. He earned a Ph.D. in Asian religions from Cornell University. He taught at the Department of Religious Studies at UC Berkeley and was the BDK Fellow at the Ho Center for Buddhist Studies at Stanford University. He is now a visiting scholar in the East Asia program at Cornell and also a visiting lecturer at the Contemplative Studies at Brown University. Moreover, he serves as a visiting professor at Interfaculty Initiative in Information Studies at the University of Tokyo. He is the abbot of the Zen temple Butsumoji in Chiba Prefecture, Japan. He currently resides in New York City. This is the second lecture out of 8, recorded on March 14, 2021, titled Revisiting Hakuin's Ethical Legacy Against Power Abuses in the 21st Century, Part 1.
Thank you for joining the second Dharma Dojo class this week. So Dharma Dojo's title is Zen and the Art of the Lotus Sutra Practice, and a lecture on Mahayana Buddhism and meditation. My plan is always, my talk takes about 40 minutes, and 10 minutes or 15 minutes we have QA. And then the remaining 5 minutes would be short meditation. Last week, we are talking about transformation of female body into male body in order to achieve the enlightenment when we are looking at the Lotus Sutra. And the point of the sutra was the idea of Buddha nature. Everyone has a possibility to become a Buddha, or everyone is already Buddha. And the second point of the sutra is that everyone can become a Buddha, not just a male, but also everyone. That is Mahayana's major characteristic. So today, I would like to introduce a topic that is also very timely. That is revisiting Hakuin's ethical legacy against power abuses in 21st century. Hakuin is a Zen master, Zen teacher, and Zen is under Mahayana Buddhism. So Hakuin is a Mahayana Buddhist as well. Today, I want to introduce Japanese Rinzai Zen master Hakuin Ekaku, 1686 to 1769, who was a practitioner of the Lotus Sutra throughout his life. Today and the next week, we will study Hakuin as one of the greatest critics of abusive power and authority in Japanese Buddhism. I hope to open a new reading of this fascinating person, free of the power objectives of those who have been inventing him again and again since the time of his death in 1769. Hakuin occupies a prominent place in the history of Japanese religions as the founder of contemporary Japanese Rinzai Zen. It is from his lineage that all the presently existing lines and thus priests descend. So everyone in Japanese Rinzai Zen, every priest in Japanese Rinzai Zen is belonging to Hakuin lineage today. The contemporary Japanese Rinzai Zen is often regarded as a tradition and concerned with moral formulations and contemporary political and social events, focused solely on the quest for deep religious experience, let's say Kensho or Satori. Hakuin's major writings and considerable production of artwork, such as paintings and calligraphy, are held up as examples of a highly developed capacity for religious experience. The tradition has almost exclusively emphasized his hard practice, decisive enlightenment experience, and tireless teaching activities in a hagiographical manner, which helped elevate him to his present position of prominence. Yet, this very same process of remembrance is at the risk of ignoring his strong anti-elite social criticism and his equally present and cogent moral voice. Hakuin was a fearless fighter for social justice, whose campaign on behalf of farmers and the lower classes resulted in his condemnation of the luxurious lifestyle of political elites. Although I am talking about Hakuin as a social critic here, for the purpose of my talk, it is important to remember that Hakuin is a practitioner of the Lotus Sutra. First of all, please see this description of young Hakuin. This description shows how Hakuin first met the Lotus Sutra. I would like to ask someone to read. Any volunteer to read?
Okay.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
the master was unusually large for his age, strong and absolutely fearless. He never backed away from anything once he had started it. One day, he went with his mother to the Shogen Kyoji, a village temple, where Nichigon Shonin, a Nichiren priest from Kubogane, delivered a talk on the great concentration and insight. Nichigon warned his listeners in no uncertain terms about the portents of divine punishment and described the terrible forms of retribution that awaited him in hell. It made the master's flesh crawl. His hair stood on end. He trembled from head to foot. I've always delighted in killing living things, he reflected. I'm wild and unruly. I'm forever making mischief. There is little chance for someone like me to escape falling into hell and undergoing endless torment. Do what he would, and he was unable to banish these fears from his mind. One day, his mother took him into the bath and directed one of the servant girls to stroke the fire under the tub to heat the bath water. Soon, angry sounds were snarling up from the furnace fires. Fierce flames licked up and around the sides of the tub. The steam pricking against his skin was growing force, felt to him like rain of arrows. Suddenly, he remembered the priest's descriptions of the torments inflicted on sinners in hell. He burst into loud, brawling tears. No one could get him to stop. Finally, his mother's features hardened. What a little sissy you are, she said sternly. You're acting like a baby girl.
One more paragraph, please.
Okay. Choking back tears, the master blubbered. But mother, I'm afraid of those torments that await me in hell. I'm terrified even to go into the bath with you. What would become of me if I fell into that dark, burning hell pit all alone without you? Who would come and help me out?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Emi-san. Who would come and help me out? So his feeling of falling into the hell, that is the very important turning point in his life. And for his answer, for this question, the mother said, recite the Lotus Sutra and make a sincere appeal to it. It is a sutra of great virtue and power. It can save people from any suffering karmic retribution may bring, his mother said. Interestingly enough, Hakuin's religious pursuit initially came from his aspiration to avoid to fall into the hell. And the way he had was to recite the Lotus Sutra. Again, this is Hakuin's first meeting with the Lotus Sutra. Next, please see this description of Hakuin. This description reveals how the Lotus Sutra is related to the reason why Hakuin decided to become a Buddhist monk. Can I ask someone to read this?
I'll be brave.
Okay, thank you. Enjoy.
A troupe of puppeteers had arrived in the area and were performing at a place called Suwa. They were putting on a play titled The Kettle Hat of Nishin Shonen. In it, Lord Tokimuni, the regent at Kamakura, puts a question to the Nichiren priest, Nishin. Does a person who practices the teaching of the Lotus Sutra feel the heat of a burning fire? Lord Tokimuni put him to the test. A plowshare is heated in a fire and clamped around under Nishin's arms. A red-hot cauldron is put over his head. Nishin suffers through these tortures with complete equanimity. He even manages a smile. The people in the audience were deeply impressed. By the play's end, they were chanting in unison choruses of the sacred title of the Lotus Sutra, Namu Myoho Renge Kyo, Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. The story started me thinking, if one were a priest of Nishin's caliber, it might even be possible to escape falling into the hellfires. I shall become a Buddhist priest. I shall become just like him.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So here, Hakuin found the power of the recitation of the Lotus Sutra, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. And he realized that he found a way to avoid to fall into the hell is to become a practitioner of the Lotus Sutra and to recite the sutra. Then this is a moment he decided to become a Buddhist monk. And the reason, again, why he became a Buddhist monk is, first of all, to avoid to fall into the hell. And second, in order to do that, he needed to study Lotus Sutra. So that is Hakuin's opportunity, very important opportunity to have Lotus Sutra here. And next, please see this description of Hakuin. When he was 42 years old, this description shows his final decisive religious experience. This also shows the moment he finally understood the deep meaning of the Lotus Sutra completely. So the master was reading the Lotus Sutra. One night, as he was reading in the chapter on the parables, a cricket made a sequence of chords from the foundation stones of the temple. The instant the sound reached his ears, the deep principle of the Lotus Sutra was suddenly his. The doubts and uncertainties that had arisen at the beginning of his religious quest and remained with him all this time now suddenly dissolved and ceased to exist. He realized understanding he had gained in all his many satoris had been greatly mistaken. He could see with perfect clarity the reason for the lotus reputation as the king of sutras. He let out an involuntary shout and began weeping uncontrollably. He was able to see for the first time the enlightened words and deeds that had marked Shoju's everyday life. Shoju is a Hakuin's teacher. And to understand that when the world-honored one spoke, his tongue lacked all sinew and muscle and moved with perfect freedom. Again, here, Lotus Sutra plays a very important role. The role was when Hakuin achieved his enlightenment. He understood the deep meaning of Lotus Sutra finally. As we have seen those three descriptions, we cannot miss the Lotus Sutra when we think of the turning point of Hakuin's early life. Of course, Hakuin gave his lectures on the Lotus Sutra many times throughout his life. As I mentioned in the beginning of this lecture, we will look at Hakuin as one of the greatest critics of abusive power and authority in Japanese Buddhist traditions, especially focusing on his writing Hebichigo, literally meaning snake strawberries, written in 1754 at the age of 70. Before that, I would like to introduce Hakuin's understanding of the Lotus Sutra. The left side, you can see Hakuin's calligraphy saying Lotus Sutra, Hokkekyo, Nammyoho Renge Kyo. Here, I do indeed always say, outside the mind, there is no Lotus Sutra, and outside the Lotus Sutra, there is no mind. This is very important line. Again, outside the mind, there is no Lotus Sutra, and outside the Lotus Sutra, there is no mind. And this is the ultimate and absolute principle. It is not limited to me, but all the Tathagata of the three periods, and all learned sages everywhere, when they have reached the ultimate understanding, have all preached in the same way. The essential purport of the text of the Lotus Sutra speaks gloriously to this effect. When this ultimate is reached, all sentient beings and all Tathagata of the three periods, mountains, rivers, the great earth, and the Lotus Sutra itself, all bespeak the Dharma principle, that all things are a non-dual unity, representing the true appearance of all things. This is a fundamental principle of Buddhism. Also, he said this. We have indeed the 5,418 texts of the Tripitaka that detail the limitless, mysterious meaning spoken by Shakyamuni Buddha. We have the sudden, gradual, esoteric, and indeterminate methods. But their ultimate principle is reduced to the 8 volumes of the Lotus Sutra. The ultimate meaning of the 64,360 odd written characters of the Lotus Sutra is reduced to the 5 characters in its title, Myoho Renge Kyo. These 5 characters are reduced to the 2 characters, Myoho, wondrous law, and the 2 characters, Myoho, return to the one-word mind. One-word mind. From these 2 descriptions, what Hakuin really wants to say is this. First, the 2 major points. 2 major points of Lotus Sutra is Buddha nature and also Shoho Jisso, that is ultimate eternal truth is manifested in phenomena. These 2 essential teachings are the foundation of the Lotus Sutra. That is the realization Hakuin achieved when he was 42 years old. Again, Hakuin said, in the end, the Lotus Sutra, the word of Myoho Renge Kyo, is reduced to just one word, mind. What he wants to say in the end is that Buddha nature. The Buddha nature is very important. It's a core idea of the Lotus Sutra. Especially, Hakuin was interested in the chapter 25, Kannon Sutra, Kannon Bodhisattva chapter. And he finally created his own sutra titled Enmeijik Kannongyo, 10-phrase Kannon Sutra for prolonging life. I would like to introduce Hakuin's Kannon Sutra here. It's very short. Kanzeon, salutation and devotion to the Buddha. We are one with Buddha in cause and effect related to all Buddha and to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Our true nature is eternal, joyous, selfless, and pure. So let us chant every morning Kanzeon with Nen. Nen means attention, having in mind or keeping in mind or praying silently. Nen, attention. Every evening, Kanzeon with Nen. Nen, Nen arises from mind. Nen, Nen is no separate from mind. This is Hakuin's sutra related to the chapter 25. So here, very interesting word, Nen. I said, keeping in mind or having in mind, praying silently. The founder, Niwano Nikkyo, he said in his writing in terms of chapter 25, he said, to keep in mind and revere the Bodhisattva regardless of the cries of the world is to think about this Bodhisattva and to feel a longing for him as an ideal model. To keep in mind this Bodhisattva with deep longing for him will help improve our character. However, since ancient times, most people have not interpreted the meaning of the keeping in mind the Bodhisattva regardless of the cries of the world in this way, but have revered the bodhisattva in order to be set free from actual suffering through the bodhisattva's supernatural power. This cannot be said to be true faith. True faith is much more profound. Further, he said, a bodhisattva is one who has a great will to save others. And he can certainly save all living beings suffering from illusion and suffering on specific occasions. Fundamental salvation, however, is not brought about except by our realization of existence of the Buddha. Let me repeat. Fundamental salvation, however, is not brought about except by our realization of the existence of the Buddha. In order to understand the real meaning of Bodhisattva canon, he emphasized the importance of Buddha nature. We need to understand the meaning of the Buddha nature. Otherwise, we don't understand the meaning of the Bodhisattva canon. This is very interesting and very important because Hakuin said a similar thing. Hakuin said, it is unparalleled ignorance to believe that one can become a Buddha without seeing into one's own nature, or that there is a salvation outside of one's own nature. And never doubt that without seeing into your own nature, you cannot become a Buddha. Without seeing into your own nature, there is no salvation. Here, what Hakuin wants to say is the same as founder Niwano is strongly emphasized the importance of Buddha nature. We need to understand the Buddha nature first, then we can become a Buddha. Now, in context of the Buddha nature, I would like to introduce Hakuin's writing Hebichigo, again, Snake Strawberries, written in 1754 at the age of 70. Age of 70. I think it is a time that we are urged to reconsider and take action for the moral crisis of our own times, involving abuses of power, injustice, and the many violations of human bodies and spirits we see around us every day. We are always thinking about authenticity, truth, freshness, and yet we do not always know how to recognize these qualities in ourselves or people or events around us. The true nature of Mahayana Buddhism in a more global context today lies in finding this authenticity, truth, and freshness of moral ground. Namely, it is a moral imperative that is called forth in us when we discipline our minds and see the nature of reality, others, and ourselves, let's say Buddha nature. Meditative practices like sitting and recitation cultivate this. What then exactly is a moral imperative? Simply put, it is a drive that emerges within us, that calls us to act for the benefit of others. It calls us to bring a kind of altruism to the problems of our day, whatever those problems are. I want to think about how we can find a moral imperative by reclaiming the stance of Hakuin as a critic of abusive power and authority. Looking at his writing habitual, Snake Strawberries, I think that reclaiming this significant aspect of Hakuin as a social critic is a matter of moral imperative today. We must remember that we have fine heritage from our Mahayana Buddhism. Voices from within Mahayana Buddhism give us a moral ground for ethical action toward a better society, world, and humanity. Please look at this description. I hear from time to time of various easygoing lords who pay out sums of from 300 to 500 pieces of gold to buy singing and dancing girls or other so-called women of pleasure from the Kyoto area. They amuse themselves with them for 2 or 3 years and then exchange them for other girls, much as they would fans or pipes. This does not matter so much for a house blessed with a splendid fortune and possessing an overflow of wealth. But very frequently, people not so well provided for will pile up enormous debt. Then they will ignore, impoverish, and bring suffering to their hereditary retainers, whose duty it is, when an emergency arises, to ward off the flying arrows and sacrifice their very bones and flesh for their Lord. In a time of need, these lords will expend their money on people who are unfit, even to carry a raincoat box. In the end, isn't it the people as a whole within the domains who suffer? What state of mind is it that allows for the concentration of luxury in one person while causing many to suffer? Continue. The common people day by day grow feebler, month by month become more stunted. It becomes impossible to support a wife and family. Each house mourns under the suffering. Each family falls into decline until misery and starvation are everywhere. There is grain in the fields in abundance, that hatred wells up within. At last, there comes a time when life is no longer of any consequence. When things reach this point, 20 or 30,000 men gather together like swarms of ants and bees. Screaming their hatred, they first surround the village head's house, smash open the doors, and scatter his possessions. If they catch him, they will be sure to tear him to pieces. Slaughtery allows. They end up by storming the city, entering its gates, and creating a riot. Then the temples within the domains are called upon, and with deception and persuasion, they bring things under control. Once peace is restored, a spy is sent around in secret to search out and seize the conspirators. Then 20 or 30 men are crucified or executed, and their rotting bones litter the fields. But it must be known that the conspirators are not among the people. They are the official and the village head. Don't they say that a desperate rat will bite a cat? No, the conspirator is not among the people, how can you say that he is not the official and the village head? Based on Hakuin's keen observations of the social as well as political conditions of those days, Hakuin criticizes the luxurious lifestyles led by the governors and urges them to reduce such unwarranted expenditures. We cannot ask this enough. Quote, what state of mind is it that allows for the concentration of luxury in one person while causing many to suffer? Hakuin goes on to draw the connection between elite ostentation and the suffering of the masses, namely denouncing the elite extravagant lifestyles as the main reason that farmers starve and riot. He stresses that the most wretched and pitiable people are farmers, describing their uprisings in many parts of the country in those days. Again, let me repeat this. What state of mind is it that allows for the concentration of luxury in one person while causing many to suffer? This was very brave, revolutionary, and radical in 1754 under the Tokugawa dictatorship in Japan. Here, as I need to stop my today's lecture because of time, let me introduce more of his voices next week. Let me conclude now, but please keep in your mind my conclusion for our next class as well. In conclusion, if Hakuin were alive now, what would he be saying and doing? What kind of unique literary and artistic expressions would he use to comment on current political social events, excessive CEO bonuses, and military budgets? More can be easily given, especially today. Where is Hakuin's voice of dissent today? Reclaiming this aspect of Hakuin restores a moral voice and rehabilitates our moral conscience. This moral conscience is not based on any religious dogma and rituals, but rather on the very fundamental moral, ethical principles embedded as a human in a human community and relationship. This moral ground is something we can cultivate in the practice of realizing our Buddha natures. Everyone has a Buddha nature. Again, Hakuin is a practitioner of the Lotus Sutra. Hakuin was a voice of dissent. His voice, his legacy, still resonates today as dissent. Everything is at stake in finding voices of dissent in our traditions. Everything. I can only hope that somewhere the governors, shoguns, and leaders of our day are listening. What state of mind is it that allows for the concentration of luxury in one person while causing many to suffer? Thank you very much. I want to open the floor for QA. If you have any questions or comments, and I'm so happy to hear that.
May I ask, I think in today's point of view, I think that we really need to understand a definition of luxury and definition of suffering, because I mean, in our understanding, today, there's just so many levels of luxury depending on your point of view, so many levels of suffering depending on your point of view.
I agree. Here, simply one thing we can say from the Hakuin's voice is that we have to help each other, and we have to help each other, and so many people who have sufferings, and simply Hakuin's voice we can say here is that we need to help each other, and we need to help those people. And also, I think we can say Hakuin also saying that always think about people's positions, people's feelings. Always, if we are doing A, someone get B. For example, we eat same food together. And today we have how many people? About 30 people here. And then we have only one rice cooker. And then we can make a lot of rice. But rice itself is limited. And in Hakuin's voice, if we can apply Hakuin's voice to this case in our everyday life, we always want to pay attention to our action. If I take this rice, this amount of rice, someone cannot eat this amount of rice. In that sense, we can help each other, we can save each other. Most importantly, fundamentally, we can think of each other. That is always important, especially today, I think.
Reverend Matsubara, thank you very much.
Hi, Devon. Thank you.
Hi, that was very, very moving. I'm very grateful to have heard that today. I ask myself these questions a lot. I'm very concerned with issues of social justice, and I question a lot if I should use Buddhism to sort of make it through a world with lots of injustice and to maintain sanity and health, or do I try and alleviate the sufferings of other people, and use Buddhism for that? And I think that I agree. I really appreciate what you just said in response to the question. I think that there's a lot of dissenting voices today that are questioning the justice of someone like Jeff Bezos, who owns Amazon, and people like that owning, 98% of the world's wealth, right? The 2%, you hear these things a lot. And it's very easy to say, well, I'm not that. But at some point, we do have to question, are we our own wealth in comparison to someone else? And that's much more difficult. I think the world, most of the cultures we live in don't really encourage. The goal is to make it, to provide for your family as best that you can. And I'm really grateful for the encouragement to ask ourselves those questions and ask our societies of those questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Devon. I think that your comment is very helpful for me as well. it's true. It's very difficult to achieve social justice completely 100%. But in terms of Buddha nature, Hakuin want to say, probably in my understanding, what he's saying is that while it is very hard to achieve social justice 100% in this life today, still we do not want to forget the idea of thinking of others. We do not want to forget everyone has a Buddha nature. Everyone is equal. Everyone is a Buddha. In the Mahayana Buddhist view, we do not want to, even the goal is very difficult. The goal is always difficult, but we do not want to forget that fundamental point that everyone is equal, everyone is human, we are together. We need to help each other, and we cannot stop make effort to achieve the goal. So I think that is my understanding what is Hakuin saying. Thank you, Devon. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation today. I really appreciate it. If I may ask a question.
Yes.
In regards to what you said about Hakuin and how do we have a discourse with people who basically they say, well, there's not enough for me, so I can't give to others. And I feel like I guess in today's political world that we don't want, you know, the government helping other people out because then there will not be enough for me. And I think that's the heart at the heart of a lot of issues, that people fear their resources being taken away and given to others. And I find myself having a conversation with my partner about this. So for example, immigration, he says, you know, well, can we let anybody come in here? We can't take care of everyone. So how do we have a discourse with people and try to get them kind of away from that kind of scarcity, that scarcity mindset, where the more we give to others, the less I will have for myself. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a very good point, and also a very important comment to think about today. In a similar scenario, I'm always thinking about the concept of unconscious prejudice. Unconscious prejudice. Conscious prejudice, that is terrible, of course. But unconscious prejudice, I think everyone has it unconsciously. And many people said, no, we don't have it, we don't have it, we don't have it. But consciously, in some way, in some point, in some level, we have prejudice. But most important point here is that, again, even we have it, it's very important to recognize the fact that we have unconscious prejudice. Precisely because we have unconscious prejudice, then we can work on it. So realizing the Buddha nature, realizing the inequality, realizing in social justice, realizing the unconscious prejudice, for example, those realizing itself is very important. That is a first step to have always. So to make action, we need to realize, yes, this is in social justice. This is in social justice. This is in equality. This is unconscious prejudice. That having that realization, it's important to recognize. I'm not sure I'm answering to the question, but that is my thinking in a similar scenario.
This concludes lecture number 2 of the Dharma Dojo series titled Revisiting Hakuin's Ethical Legacy Against Power Abuses in the 21st Century, Part 1, by Reverend Dr. Masaki Matsubara. Rissho Koseikai International of North America offers classes on Buddhism, free special lectures, holds online gatherings, and practices chanting. Please visit our website at www.rkina.org to sign up on our email list to find out about upcoming events. Arkina is a non-profit Buddhist organization and is supported entirely by your contributions. You play a key role to help us spread the Dharma. Your generous donations support us in bringing you more interesting events and programs that shares the Dharma for all. Thank you for joining the movement to bring peace to our families, communities, countries, and to the world.